Welcome, everybody. Great to have you with us. I can't think of a better start to the Christmas series in the Christmas season than that blockbuster Beatles song, Help. Unless you think that's not a good start to a Christmas season, that song, let me just define reality for all of us across all of our campuses. Here's reality. Christmas is not the most wonderful time of the year for many, many, many people. Let's just be honest for a moment. I know that Christmas music has been blaring in malls and stores since October, saying it's the most wonderful time of the year. All right, enough, because we hear that. But for many, by the way, that sounded great across all of it. You guys sound great. But let me just be honest. It's not that kind of a season for many, many, many people. I know we're supposed to be jolly and merry, but it's really hard to be jolly and merry when you're lonely. It's really hard to be blissful when you're broke and you have to buy gifts for every single person on the planet. It's really hard to say ho, ho, ho when your life is ho, ho, hum. When you hate your job, when you hate getting up in the morning, when you feel like you have no purpose, no meaning in your life. And it's really hard to be happy when you're heartbroken. And I know for many, many, many people across our 4 campuses, and those of you who are watching live right now on YouTube, I know for many people, this is your first Christmas. This is your first Christmas without your grandma or your grandpa. This is your first Christmas without your mom or your dad. This is your first Christmas without a son or a daughter. This is the very first Christmas you're going to be celebrating without someone who really matters there to celebrate with. And it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. I know it's the season to be whatever, but man, isn't it a hard season for many, many, many people? John Lennon and Paul McCartney in 1965 wrote that song that you heard today called Help. And it was a very unique song. It was a song that they were tasked to write for their second movie, but it was the very first time that Lennon and McCartney said that they actually opened up the curtain a little bit to their lives and shared how they were feeling. All was not merry, all was not bright with the Beatles, even though they were on top of the world. In fact, John Lennon, in writing the song, says, I was fat and depressed, and I was crying out for help. And Paul McCartney, writing about John, said, John was always looking for help. He had a paranoia that people died when he was around. His father left home when he was 3. The uncle he was left with died later. Then his mother died. I think John's his whole life was a cry for help. And I know many of us were alive in the 60s and we watched the Beatles. I mean, who would have thought? Who would have thought that John Lennon, that everyone adored, everybody, put him on a status like he was some sort of a god. Who would have thought that he was not doing well on the inside? Who would have ever thought? But isn't it true that appearances are deceiving? I mean, you look at the people around you, you look at the people this time of the year, you go on social media, everybody's happy and everybody's posting and everybody's bright and their lives are merry and jolly and all that. And then you look at yourself, you go, it's not me. And you think you're the only one. But the truth is, appearances are deceiving, aren't they? In fact, if you look through the trees and the tinsel and the trimmings, what you see are people who are in need. And what you hear, if you listen intently, what you hear is a whole lot of people singing, help me if you can, I'm feeling down. And I do appreciate you being around. Help me get my feet back on the ground. Won't you please help me? And the only question for us, Crossroads, is just 2 words. It's will we? Will we help the people around us who are crying out for help? And the answer to the question is, well, not if we do Christmas the same way we always do Christmas, right? You know what you do, and I know what I do. I like to describe it this way. What do we do in December? We step onto the December treadmill and we run. We run reindeer, don't we? We just run. And the December treadmill looks like this. We shop, we decorate, we bake, we plan, we party, lather, rinse, repeat. That's what we do. I mean, many of you, I'm guessing we're running into the church today because you got lots on your to-do list. We're out of breath. And unless you think I'm trying to be Pastor Scrooge right now, which is a fitting term for me if you know me, I get all that, and I do all that. I get the baking, and I get the shopping, and I get the wrapping, and I get the celebrating, and all that stuff. I get it, and it's all good. Can I just say that out loud? What we do in December, it's all good. It's all good. The gift giving and all the parties and all the stuff, it's all good. It's all good. You heard me say that, right? It's all good. But, one more but if this truly is the season where we celebrate the birth of the one who left heaven and came to earth, came crawling to us on his hands and his knees for us, if that's what this is really all about, shouldn't we do something during this season that actually we know would honor him? Shouldn't we do something besides what we do for everybody else in our lives? Shouldn't we do something for Jesus that would honor him, that would lift him up? And you say, well, what might that be, Pastor Phil? And it would be what he did. I mean, the greatest form of compliment is when you copy someone, when you mimic them, when you replicate what they do. And what Jesus did is he noticed people in need. He got off the treadmill that he was on often to just to notice people and to reach out and help. He rolled his sleeves up and he helped people. And so what I want to suggest to us to do, and I have an assignment for all of us, and the assignment is very simply this: to do for one person, just to do for one what you wish you could do for everyone. It's just to get off the treadmill for a few moments and to look through the trees and the trimmings and the tinsel and actually to see someone and hear the cries of somebody saying, help me if you can, I'm feeling down. Help me get my feet back on the ground. Won't you please help me? It's us hearing one person, just one person. And in the next 17 days between now and Christmas, just stopping long enough to help one person, to do for one what we wish we could do for everyone. Just one person in the next 17 days. Will you stop and help that person? And maybe it's going to mean to help them financially. One person. Or maybe what it's going to mean for you is it's that person that you know they need someone to talk to, but everybody avoids them because they're high maintenance. They're high in the drama scale. They suck the life out of it. But maybe it's just taking the time to sit down and to listen to that one person. Or maybe it's having someone over to your home, opening your home up and having a meal for someone that you know has had just a horrible 2019. Will you do for one? Will you do for one what you wish you could do for everyone? And if that's going to happen, if that's going to happen, it's going to take on my part, and it's going to take on your part, what I want to call an attitude shift or a posture shift. And it's the same posture that we see. It's the same attitude that we see in a very, very famous couple. And I'm not talking about Beyonce and Jay-Z. Are they still together? I'm not talking about Kate and Prince William. I'm not talking about Blake and Gwen. I'm not talking about whoever. I'm talking about a very famous couple named Joseph and Mary. Yeah, Joseph and Mary. Because I want us to go to their story today because they model for us what we need to copy and to replicate. If we're going to stop to help people who are truly in need, we need to have the same mindset or the same posture that they had. They were a couple, as you know, the story, they were a couple who were engaged to be married, to be married. It was a big deal. They didn't just put the ring on. It was beyond that. Betrothal back in this ancient world was a big, big deal. They were a couple with plans. They were going to get married. The invitations have already been sent out. Mary's busy making her dress. Joseph, who was a carpenter, was busy picking up extra carpentry jobs because their plan was get married. Joe was going to build the house, right? They're going to have 2.3 kids, right? They're going to buy a Dodge Camel van, right? I try my best. They were going to get a golden retriever, and of course, they're going to name him Max. And Mary was going to someday serve on the local school board. Label all of that plan A, because that was their plan A. Just to have a nice, normal life, right? Isn't that what we all dream of? Having a nice, normal life. And then what happens? What happens? An angel shows up and throws Mary a curveball. We're going to pick up the story because Luke, one of the guys who wrote the life and teachings of Jesus, he records it for us in Luke chapter 1. So you can open up your app, you can open up a Bible, or you can follow along with me on the screen here. Luke chapter 1, and we're going to go down to verse 30 together. Here's the story. Here's what happened to Mary. The angel shows up and says, "Don't be afraid, Mary." By the way, if an angel shows up and starts talking to you, yeah, good luck not being afraid. All right, don't be afraid, Mary, the angel told her, "for you have found favor with God. You will conceive and give birth to a son, and you will name him Jesus. He will be very great and will be called the Son of the Most High. The Lord God will give him the throne of his ancestor David." David, we should do a series on David someday, shouldn't we? If you've been around, this is your first time, we just got through with like a 76-week series on the life of David. And he will reign. He will reign over Israel forever. His kingdom will never end. Mary asked the angel, "Okay, angel, can I ask you a quick question here? Okay, I'm going to get pregnant. How can this happen? I am a virgin." And the angel replied, "The Holy Spirit will come upon you, and the power of the Most High will overshadow you. So the baby born will be holy, and he will be called the Son of God." All right, let's just stop here. Isn't it true every year we read this story, we just sort of speed read it because we think we know it so well? But have you ever just stepped back and thought about the implications here for Mary? Did you hear the noise that I heard as I was reading this? Did you hear the noise? It was the noise of plan A being flushed down the toilet. It was a flushing sound. Because all of a sudden, Mary's plan A is gone. Think about these implications for Mary, though. You've just been told that even though you're a virgin, there's a child growing within you. And it's God's fault. God's Spirit has impregnated you, and the long-awaited Messiah is now in your womb and growing. And then soon, you're going to give birth, and the baby that you give birth to is going to be holy. In fact, the baby that you have is going to be the Son of God. Oh, okay. Really? Mary's got some questions, doesn't she? Like, will he like my soup? Will I have to teach him how to pray, or will he teach me how to pray? Will he get an exemption from Sunday school and confirmation? Will he eat deviled eggs? I mean, come on. I've got a lot of questions here, right? And how will Mary respond? How would you respond if you were Mary? Well, how does Mary respond? Well, Luke tells us here in verse 38, Mary responded, "I'm the Lord's servant. May everything you've said about me come true." And then the angel left her. Wow. Let's give it up for Mary, huh? There's something about Mary. Her attitude here, her posture here. I'm full of jokes today. Her posture is just amazing. Let's talk about Joe, okay? Let's just talk about Joe, because Joseph always gets kind of pushed off to the side here. And when it comes to the Christmas story, let's talk about the implications for Joseph. And thankfully, Mathew, another one of the guys who wrote about the life and teachings of Jesus, he talks about what happened to Joseph in Mathew chapter 1. We're going to pick up the Mathew side of the story in verse 18. Here it is. This is how Jesus, the Messiah, was born. His mother, Mary, was engaged to be married to Joseph. But before the marriage took place, while she was still a virgin, she became pregnant through the power of the Holy Spirit. Joseph, to whom she was engaged, was and I underline this because it's very important that you grab onto this. He was a righteous man and did not want to disgrace her publicly. So he decided to break the engagement quietly. As he considered this, an angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream. And here's what the angel said: "Joseph, Son of David, the angel said, do not be afraid to take Mary as your wife, for the child within her was conceived by the Holy Spirit, and she will have a son, and you're to name him Jesus, for he will save his people from their sins. Why did the angel say, don't be afraid, Joe? Don't be afraid to take Mary as your wife. Why did he say that? And the answer is, and I underlined it for you so you would see it. The answer is because Joseph was what was called a righteous man. He was a righteous man. And the Hebrew, it's just one word. The Hebrew is right here. And I pronounced it for our group that was at our services last night because you pronounce it Sadiq. But then someone was in our services who actually from Israel, and she corrected me afterwards that I didn't say it right. So Sadiq. And all that means is that Joseph was set apart. He was something. He had achieved a status of being Sadiq or a righteous man. It was a label that they would place on someone who had strived greatly to be kind of an uncompromising, unflinching obedience to God's laws. In other words, Joseph nailed it, and he hit a category, he hit a label that everybody would have looked up to. Every young Jewish male would want to reach that level of being Sadiq. And Joseph nailed it. He was Sadiq. He was Sadiq. And again, this is a label that maybe for us it would be like he was like valedictorian, or he was like the class president, or he was the team captain, or he was the CEO with the corner office, or he's the guy that reached the black belt level, or he got the pink Cadillac. Do they still do that? Pink Cadillac, or whatever status things are out there today. Joseph had it. And the reason why the angel said, don't be afraid, was because he would have been afraid. He would have been afraid that he would have lost his status of being Sadiq. He would have been in danger of losing all that. And no one would have looked up to him if he would have married an already pregnant girl. No one would have looked up to him. He was at risk morally. He was at risk economically. He was at risk socially. Think about Joseph having to explain this whole thing to people. Being that he's a righteous man, everybody's looking at him like, what did you do? Can you try to put yourself in Joseph's sandals? I didn't have sex with her. I didn't. It's all God's fault. Seriously, it's all God's fault. It wasn't me. Just try to picture this. Joseph is at risk here of having his Sadiq card, membership card, pulled. This was a big deal to Joseph. So how does Joseph respond? Well, let's pick up the story. Verse 24, Mathew 1. When Joseph woke up, he did as the angel of the Lord commanded, and took Mary as his wife. But he did not have sexual relations with her until her son was born. And Joseph named him Jesus. How does Joe respond? Here's the answer. He bet the farm on God. Put all the chips on the table. And he said to God, even though it was just a dream, and we all know how dreams go, right? You have a bad burrito and you have some bad dreams. By a dream that was an angel, he bets the farm on God. He says, God, I'm all in. Wow. Mary and Joseph, come on. What an amazing couple. What an amazing couple. And I have to just kind of stop for a moment with you and just say, what if they would have been different? What if they would have been kind of like, maybe me or maybe you? In fact, what if Mary and Joseph would have been more like this? Bad. That was just horrible. Aren't you glad the real Mary and Joseph were nothing like that? Now, let me get back to the question. What was the posture? What was the posture of Mary, the real Mary and Joseph? Not that Mary, and get them out of your mind. What was the posture of the real Mary and Joseph that we need to impersonate? What was it about their lives that if we're actually going to notice the people that need to be noticed and help the people who need to be helped, what is it about them that we need to copy and to mimic? And I put it together right here. Here it is. It's a willingness to be interrupted. That's it. It's a willingness to be interrupted even when my plans are set. It's a willingness to get off the December treadmill and look around and listen to the cries of the people around me. It's a willingness to allow God to tap me on the shoulders and to point me in a different direction. Another way of saying it, it's a willingness to let go of plan A when God points me to plan B. And if that's going to happen, again, it's going to take a posture shift. What will my posture be between now and Christmas Day? Will my arms just be full of Amazon boxes and gifts for people? Will my hands only be used to string lights and hang ornaments and wrap gifts and drink eggnog and what do you do with dough for cookies? Whatever, knead the dough for cookies. Or will at some point, look here, everybody, at some point in the next 17 days, would I be willing to drop all of that and extend my hands and my arms towards someone who's crying out for help? Will I pray? Will I pray, God, interrupt me. God, use me. Or will I say, get out of my way, people. I have things to do and places to go. Wow. Because here's what I know. If you pray, God, interrupt me. God, use me. Here's what God's going to do. He's going to use you. He's going to tap you on the shoulder and he's going to interrupt you. And he's going to point you to someone who needs you. And if you're thinking right now, Pastor Phil, it sounds great, but you know what, Pastor Phil, I am just an ordinary person. And if that's what you're thinking right now, I just want to say to you, congratulations. Because the only people God uses are ordinary people. You see, extraordinary people are just ordinary people willing to be interrupted by God. This is the message of the life of Joseph and Mary right there. What their lives tell us is simply this, that extraordinary people are just ordinary people who are willing to be interrupted by God because they were ordinary. They were poor peasant people from an obscure, no-name village. And yet think about this. Think about this. Over 2,000 years later, billions upon billions upon billions of people know about Joseph and Mary, all proving that God's not looking for ability as much as God is looking for availability. So, help me if you can. I'm feeling down, and I do appreciate you being around. Help me get my feet back on the ground. Won't you please help me? Here's what I know. There is someone really close to you, I mean really close to you, who are saying those words, not out loud. Oh, they're saying those words though. And maybe it's someone in your family, maybe it's someone at your workplace, maybe it's someone at your school, maybe it's someone in your neighborhood, but there is somebody right now who's saying to you, me, help me. Won't you please help me? Will you? Will I? Will we say to God, interrupt me? Will we be interruptible? Will we do for one person, just one person, what we wish we could do for everyone in the next 17 days? Will we? Remember, extraordinary people, just ordinary people who are willing to be interrupted by God. Now, before I let you go, I want to share with you an opportunity to immediately, like today, to help someone. to help someone thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of miles away from where we find ourselves at our Crossroads campuses, and to introduce this opportunity to help in a very practical way. I want you to lean in a little bit and watch this.
Last August, we found out that we were pregnant with our first child, Juniper.
Women in Madagascar are about 20 times more likely to suffer complications after delivery and often death. And so part of what we try to do is step into that gap and help women find the support they need when they're expecting a baby. When a mom finds out she's pregnant, whether she's in the Twin Cities or whether she's in Madagascar, she's excited. She's excited that her family is growing, and she's looking forward to this new life that's starting to grow within her. And she's thinking about all of the things she hopes and dreams for this child.
So in the months leading up to Junie's birth, we had several showers and were gifted lots of diapers and wipes and things that were really helpful when she arrived to be prepared. We also went to a lot of doctor's appointments. At these appointments, we would be able to see her on the ultrasound. That was really comforting to know that she was developing the way that she was supposed to.
Global Health Ministries is a nonprofit that supports and enhances healthcare programs of the church overseas. So I recently returned from a visit to our partners in Madagascar, where I had the opportunity to visit with some moms who had just given birth. So some of the women I met were from small villages, really very rural villages, not close to a health facility, certainly not close to a hospital. And when they found out they were pregnant, the places that they had to turn for help and for advice were really just their mom, their neighbors, other women in the village. But if their pregnancy was complicated in any way, it was really important that they be able to visit a trained healthcare worker, because the health of their baby and their own health actually was so dependent on that. And so one of the women I was able to talk to had just given birth the night before by C-section. She lived several days walk away from the hospital that I was visiting, but fortunately, her neighbors understood that she was in trouble when she went into labor, and they were able to get her to the hospital, and she was able to deliver a healthy, beautiful baby. Without that help, she probably would not have survived delivery, and neither would her child.
So when it was time to go into labor, I was feeling really excited and nervous, and I grabbed my bag. And inside my bag, I had packed it about a month ahead of time, and I had a blanket and some diapers and wipes, a really cute outfit that I had picked out to take her home in with a little bow. I had also packed some things for myself, comfort items just for me.
One way that women find out that there is a hospital or a place where they can go for help is through the newborn kits that GHM sends overseas to our partners. Doctors and nurses will often use these as a way to encourage women to come in to seek prenatal care. They are a gift to the mom, offering her things that she may not have to bring home her baby in. She may not have clothes or diapers. And so these are really valuable things for her. So what's in a newborn kit is really what every mom needs for her baby. There's a towel and a washcloth and a bar of ivory soap, a baby hat, a baby blanket, a t-shirt for a newborn, 2 cloth diapers, and 2 diaper pins. Those things that really every mom wants to have for her baby when she goes home from a hospital or after she gives birth. And the doctors will use these kits as a way to encourage her to come in and get checked, and then also to come back for well baby care and things that can help her keep her baby healthy after birth. Global Health Ministries and Crossroads are partnering this weekend, and we're selling Christmas ornaments just today that you can buy that will help sponsor 2 newborn kits. So each ornament will help 2 moms celebrate the birth of their baby.
We had just an amazing experience welcoming Junie into our lives, but I know that that's not the experience that every woman has. Jonathan and I are really excited to be purchasing these ornaments so that these women will have everything they need to take these babies home, just like we did.
Christmas is a celebration of life. It's a celebration of the birth of Jesus. And with these newborn kids, we are celebrating new life. As you hang your ornament on your tree this Christmas, remember this mom and her baby that she just was able to bring home in a clean blanket because of you.
When I hear, this is for me personally, when I hear the stories of women across the world, and especially Madagascar, of their current reality and the stats that they wrestle with, it makes me realize just how blessed we are to have